1972 Miami Dolphins can break out the bubbly because they remain the last team in NFL history to go undefeated from start to finish. With the losses yesterday by the Eagles and by the Bills, there are no undefeated teams left in the NFL. We're only 5 weeks into the books. That's kind of remarkable that the undefeateds don't exist already. It was 80 degrees in New Jersey yesterday. You think if it's 80 degrees in New Jersey, there should be some undefeated teams in the NFL because that means we're really early in the season. But they're gone. Philly knocked off, Buffalo knocked off, and the Dolphins sipping that bubbly. And I know they like to make a good show of it. Welcome, everyone, to a new week of shows here at the Call Sheet Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Smith, here at the Fans First Sports Network. Excited to have another opportunity to talk the world of football with everybody. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, do our Monday morning game balls segment today. Our Whiteboard Wednesday show with Coach Frank Lasasso as my guest on Wednesday. And then, of course, Friday, the hot route with Pez from Pez's Picks. Conversations about sports and life. That is our weekly lineup. And we're really excited because the NFL is starting to heat up. We're starting now, 5 weeks into the NFL, to get an idea about who's who. You're starting to see some identities emerge. You're starting to see some teams make some moves. You're starting to see some teams who may already be looking ahead to 2026. Fascinating time of year. So let's do our Game Balls show. Who are we awarding Game Balls to based upon their performances this past weekend? And we're going to start with two quarterbacks from the 2024 quarterback class who had signature wins over the weekend. Let's begin with the Sunday night football game between the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. Excellent game in Orchard Park. And the Patriots in a signature win for Mike Vrabel. Biggest win for New England perhaps since Tom Brady left town. Knock off the previously undefeated Bills 23-20. And one of the big reasons that they do was the play of their young quarterback, Drake May. Game ball number one. Drake May, New England Patriots. I won't say he outplayed Josh Allen in that contest. Josh Allen was his normal, excellent self. But Drake May went toe-to-toe with him. 22 out of 30, 273 yards. Third, maybe the play of the game. Just before the 2-minute warning, Buffalo had really controlled that contest for most of the game. They lead 20-10 in the fourth quarter, and then Josh Allen, in Josh Allen fashion, brings the Bills back. Buffalo scores with about 2:15 or so to play to make it a tie game, 20-20. They kick off. New England takes over at their own 29. The place is going nuts, right? It's unbelievably loud, and you just feel like, hey, if New England goes 3 and out here, or if they can't string together a drive, but you're going to leave Josh Allen a minute, and he's going to come right down the field, and Buffalo's going to kick a walk-off field goal. It felt exactly like it was going to go like that. And on the first down play, the Bills bring the blitz, and they have Drake May dead to rights in the backfield. I mean, he is pretty much wrapped up by a defender, pulls away, another defender descends upon him. He fends him off with his left arm. And as he's being dragged to the ground, he manages to flick a throw out to Stephon Diggs, who catches it and turns it into a 12-yard gain and a first down. And that takes you into the 2-minute warning. And it just completely silenced the crowd. It's a huge play. If Drake May is sacked there, it's 2nd and 17. And the odds that New England recovers from that are not great. They're going to have to punt the ball back, and you know what's going to happen from there. Huge play by Drake May. But Drake May's a guy who just seems to get better each week. I watched him a couple weeks ago when New England played the Pittsburgh Steelers, and granted, the Steelers threw the kitchen sink at him, man. They threw a lot of different stunts and looks at him. And they got to him. The pressure got to him. They wound up with 5 sacks in that contest. But at the same time, I don't think Drake May looked overwhelmed. He looks like a guy for whom the NFL game has slowed down. And that is huge when you talk about quarterbacks. So New England, it feels like, has found their franchise guy. And you know Mike Vrabel will build a solid culture there, and they'll play good defense, etc. So the Patriots at 3-2, with a schedule that is favorable, could be one of those dark horse teams, much like the Denver Broncos a year ago, that sneaks into the playoffs. Probably a little bit too early to talk about that, but something to keep your eye on. All right, one of Drake May's classmates from the 2024 draft at quarterback. Remember, there were 6 quarterbacks taken in the first 12 picks of that draft a year ago. The last of those 6 quarterbacks was Bo Nix, and he too, like Drake May, authored the biggest win of his young career, bringing the Denver Broncos back from down 17-3, entering the fourth quarter, to the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly. And they win 21-17. They score 18 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. The turnaround was remarkable. At halftime of that game, I tweeted about the Philly defense and just how disciplined they are. And they close passing lanes so quickly. They tackle so well. They're just so fundamentally dominant. And about how confused and slow Bo Nix looked in his processing. Entering the fourth quarter, Bo Nix, or I should say late in the third quarter, as Denver gets the ball back for its final possession of the third quarter, Bo Nix is 12 out of 25 for 117 yards. And it's 17-3 Philadelphia on the scoreboard. He is struggling. And for the remainder of that contest, about the last 18 minutes or so of that contest, he goes 12 out of 14 for 125 yards. I mean, it just flipped, man. He flipped the script in a way that I don't think anybody saw coming. I would have bet a lot of money that when it was 17-3 entering the fourth quarter, that the Philadelphia Eagles would win that football game, as would many others. Why wouldn't you? That loss yesterday was Philadelphia's first loss in 21 games where Jalen Hurts played the entire game. That's a remarkable streak. And for the Broncos to end it with a young quarterback who looked baffled by Philly's veteran defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, and he somehow flips it and authors this phenomenal comeback, my goodness. What a job by Bo Nix. If I had to rank the 6 quarterbacks who were drafted with those first 12 picks, or in those first 12 picks a year ago, the order they went in, by the way, it was Caleb Williams first, then Jaden Daniels, Drake May went third, Michael Penix went fourth, J.J. McCarthy fifth, and Bo Nix sixth. That's the order that they went in as far as quarterbacks being taken. If I had to rank them right now, I would still put Jaden Daniels at number 1. I mean, he is the reigning rookie of the year. He was phenomenal last season. He's been dinged up this year, but you can't say that he's played poorly. He just hasn't been healthy. I think he's still number 1 until one of these other quarterbacks overtakes him. But right now, the last of those 6 QBs, Bo Nix, I would put him right now. We're ranking them. It's really early in their careers. Premature to do this, obviously, but still, just a fun exercise. I'd put Daniels 1, I'd put Bo Nix 2, and Drake May 3 right now, based upon how these guys have played so far in the NFL. I'd put Caleb Williams 4, Penix 5, and J.J. McCarthy, whose sample size is incredibly small because he just can't stay healthy, would be at number 6. But yeah, Daniels and Nix and Drake May, the 3 of those guys really look like franchise quarterbacks. We'll see about the rest. Before I move on to the next game ball, a quick note about Philly. The Eagles called 9 run plays yesterday. Now, there were some runs where Jalen Hurts got out and ran the ball on passes, but they had 9 designed run play calls. They are 30th in yards per game. They're 29th in yards per play. And the big difference between this offense this year from a year ago, They're 26th in explosive plays. The Eagles led the league in explosive plays last year. They're 26th this year. First-year offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo. Kev, I can't remember your last name exactly. He's under the gun, man. The Eagles fans are not happy. All right, game ball number 3. Rico Dowdle, running back, Carolina Panthers. A breakout game on Sunday. His first big game as a Panther. Carolina trailing the Miami Dolphins 17-0, rallies for a 27-24 win. Rico Dowdle over 200 yards rushing, 23 carries, 206 yards, averaging 9 yards per carry. And this was unexpected because here's what Rico Dowdle had done the first 4 games of the year. 3 carries for 12 yards, 6 carries for 9 yards, 10 carries for 30 yards, 9 carries for 32 yards. 83 total yards coming into Sunday's game, and he goes off for 206. Now, the fact that he went off for 206 shouldn't be surprising. This is a guy who rushed for over 1,000 yards last year as the feature back in Dallas. But then he comes to Carolina. He's going to split reps with Chuba Hubbard in the backfield there. They haven't really been able to get him going, but he was the catalyst for that big Carolina comeback yesterday. It's interesting. Sometimes you just forget that guys are good players unless you really follow that team. And then all of a sudden they have a big game and they reemerge and you go, oh yeah, I always liked that guy. I always thought that guy was a good back. Rico Dowdle got his shot last year when Tony Pollard left Dallas to move on to Tennessee. And then Rico Dowdle steps up and he gets a nice free agent deal from the Panthers. And then he kind of disappears again because the Panthers aren't really a national team and they struggle a little bit. But hey, they got a couple wins under their belts, and that's a nice comeback win for Carolina. Game ball number 3, Rico Dowdle. Game ball number 4. Here's a name you're not going to know. Quan Martin. Quan Martin. All right, let's do a quick multiple choice question. Quan Martin plays for A, the Houston Texans, B, the Green Bay Packers, C, the Washington Commanders, D, the Denver Broncos. Answer? C. The answer is C. Always pick C on a multiple choice quiz. I was a teacher for 33 years, and I can tell you when in doubt, pick C. Statistically, it is the most common answer. All right, Quan Martin, safety, Washington Commanders. Why is Quan Martin getting a game ball? Because his Washington team flew across the country out to LA to play the Chargers yesterday. And boy, it looked like it was going to be a pretty miserable road trip for them. They're down 10-0 in the second quarter. At this point, midway through the second quarter, when Quan Martin makes the big play that earns him a game ball, they're losing 10-0. They've been outgained by the Chargers 167-30. Yikes. And on offense, they're averaging just 3 yards per play. And then, with the Chargers driving for another potential score, they're down inside the Commanders' 30-yard line. Quan Martin makes a huge hit on a pass where he smashes Quentin Johnson, the wide receiver for the Chargers, causes a fumble that's recovered by Marshawn Lattimore. Washington takes over and proceeds to drive 74 yards for a touchdown. And that was it, man. The Commanders ran away with the game from that point forward. From that point forward, from the time that Quan Martin flattened Quentin Johnson and forced that fumble, Washington outscored LA 27-0, outgained them 389 to 169, so by 220 yards, and had been averaging 3 yards a play, and for the remainder of the game, averaged 7.6 yards per play. It was a defining moment in that contest. The Commanders would go on to author 9 quarterback hits of Justin Herbert, 5 sacks. That's 2 weeks in a row now that Justin Herbert has been assaulted by a defensive front. The Giants battered him last week. The Commanders get to him on Sunday. So again, Quan Martin's hit, which comes with Washington trailing 10-0, is a signature moment in a massive turnaround, and they go on to beat the Chargers 27-10. And I'm here to tell you this: momentum is real. Momentum is a real thing. I see it all the time in football games, at the high school level, college, NFL, whatever it may be. Momentum is real. I did a show on that call sheet episode, The Curious Case of Momentum, back in the wintertime. And we really dove into that subject. And I do believe it, because it has a psychological impact on people. Man, people get into their heads when a game turns on a big play. Doubt turns into belief. Belief turns into doubt. And even with professionals who you say, well, man, they've been through this over and over again. They shouldn't succumb to waves of momentum, but they do. And you saw it clear as day in the Washington-LA game. Game ball number 4, Quan Martin. And we'll finish with this. Game ball number 5 for the, let's see, what is it now? 53rd consecutive year. The 1972 Miami Dolphins can break out the bubbly, because they remain the last team in NFL history to go undefeated from start to finish. With the losses yesterday by the Eagles and by the Bills, there are no undefeated teams left in the NFL. And we're only 5 weeks into the books. That's kind of remarkable that the undefeateds don't exist already. I mean, it was 80 degrees in New Jersey yesterday. You think if it's 80 degrees in New Jersey, there should be some undefeated teams in the NFL, because that means we're really early in the season. But they're gone. Philly knocked off, Buffalo knocked off, and the Dolphins sipping that bubbly. And I know they like to make a good show of it, those Dolphins who remain. Larry Zonko's always out there somewhere putting up some video of him tipping one back with his buddies. And rightfully so. It is a remarkable feat. Interesting question. In this age of NFL parity, where the league strives to create it, where the salary cap, while it doesn't prohibit dynasties, it certainly makes it incredibly difficult to go on these long runs of excellence. I mean, I just mentioned the Eagles. They'd won 20 straight games where Jalen Hurts played from start to finish. That's a hell of a run. You don't see that much anymore. So my question is, will we ever see another undefeated team start to finish? The 2008 Patriots went undefeated in the regular season, but of course got knocked off in the Super Bowl. So will we see it? I don't know, man. I don't know. You never say never, but 17-game schedule, probably going to be an 18-game schedule before all is said and done. You got to win 18 games and at least 3 playoff games. Can you win 21 straight games in a single season in the NFL? The Dolphins, when they did it, they went 17-0. It was a 14-game season plus their 3 playoff games. But we're probably looking at an 18-game season within the next couple of years. Certainly by the next time you get to the CBA, which is 2031. Plus the playoffs. 21 games. Can you win 21 straight games in the NFL? I don't know. Anyway, Miami Dolphins, enjoy today. Hope your hangover's not too bad. Your streak is intact. All right, those are our game balls. Monday morning game balls. Drake May, Bo Nix, Rico Dowdle, Quan Martin, and the 1972 Miami Dolphins. Congratulations. Display those call sheet game balls proudly on your mantle. All right, we will be back on Wednesday with Coach Lasasso to do another whiteboard show. We've done some interesting stuff the last couple of weeks. Last week was on tight ends and their use in the modern game. So we'll have some great subject for you this week as well. Hope you'll join us. Until then, hope everybody has a great day. Take care.